Why do some tracks stick in your head and others get skipped? The secret? A strong melodic and harmonic idea and interplay. And that's what we're going to cover today. My name is Yannick Mounts, and in this video I'll show you how to produce a catchy melodic theme and layer it with chords, bass, a pedal point and your drums. This tutorial is not about super strict rules, but more about like problem solving approaches and techniques that you can use in your own production. So without further talking, let's dive right in. So we're in Ableton 11. Of course, this project is available as a download, so I'll just play the drum beat that I've made for this. Just small mastering chain here on the master, nothing special. The interesting part here, if you haven't realized it, that it's in triplets. If you count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's like a chord decision in the very beginning of our production. If you know the track Breathing from Bohmer, very huge, very famous and very, very good song. And this is a little bit oriented in that direction. All those drums and presets that we're going to use are in my own sample pack Organica 5, so if you want this and many more organic sounds, check it out. Why do you need even a pedal point? So pedal points are something that I really like to start with. It's basically just one note, either a pad or some kind of a rhythm, but something pretty clearly tonal that's going on in your track. It shouldn't be like super prominent, but can be kind of prominent as well. So that's just an artistic and stylistic decision. And for example, Fred, again, he's also using pedal points in his music quite a lot. And I think like a lot of artists do it. Like the purpose of it is we have to create some kind of tonality. When you go with a second instrument in there, you already have a reference point, which is super important. So this is the patch. I'm just going some octaves higher here. Nothing too special. You want to look for something that's like has not that many highs. Just a little bit. Okay, so let's select the area. Shift Command M for a MIDI clip. And now for the sake of simplicity, we're going with A minor, which are all the white notes, but I'm not even having a piano right here, so we just like bounce it into our MIDI roll. And now I'm just going to create we need to go an octave higher, because I don't want to have it like very low. I think that's the only rule for the pedal point, don't do it like super low. Let's create some kind of a rhythm, and let's... Okay, so already I can hear our first big mistake. Our drums are triolic and our grid is not. So how do we switch to a triolic grid? We right click, you go to triplet grid here, and now you can see that's why it wasn't grooving, because it was off. Okay, so with triolic or triplet grids, we won't go to like a 16th grid here, we want to go to an 8th note grid. Okay, so you can see we need to readjust those notes so they really stick to the grid. And now things should be way better. Okay, already better. And now, how do you create even a rhythm or anything? Where do you put your notes? On which note do you put your notes? So I just picked quite of a random note here. This is like from A. If we're in A minor, this is the 5th, which I think is not the root note, which could be a little bit boring, but it's also not like a major second above like the root note, which is a little bit like disharmonic. But about disharmonics, consonants, dissonances, nice dissonances, we'll take care of that later. So for now, you just go with either with A or with C or with E. In whatever octave you like, can also go here. How do rhythms in general make sense? And there is a rule of thumb. You draw a note, and then you either leave one note space between the next one that you draw. So here, one note, or two. And then you're alternating between those two variations. So first note, leaving one space here, no note there, next note. Then leaving two note space here, next note. Either go back and leave one space here, or you can go with two, or can go 2 times 2 here as well. Now it's just for you. You can really like go with the flow here and do whatever you want, and then maybe you will hear, okay, here it's a little bit off or something. So I'm just alternating here for like 2 bars, and with Command and L, selecting the area, Command and L, I'll just loop this. Okay, so now we have a loop that's kind of groovy and not boring at the same time. And that's it for our pedal point at the moment. Can maybe close the cutoff here a little bit more. Especially in this like very like moody melodic house genres, you really want to watch out that you're like not starting with like a super cranked up cutoff knob, okay? Like this is just like the intensity here is like way too high for where we are. That makes sense here. And I think we can also add some velocity to our notes. Maybe even add some very low velocity type of notes here and there, but those ones you really don't want to do like this kind of pattern where they're like right next to each other too much, because it just sounds a little bit weird. Of course, rule of thumb, you know, as everything and all the time. Just small variations. And I'm just gonna delete this note here because this and this otherwise would be like exactly after each other, and I think that's not groovy. Okay, so here's our pedal point, rhythmical pedal point here. As I said, you could always take a pad or something. I've already configured our cutoff here by clicking cutoff and envelope 2 here. So they appear here so we can, you know, automate them later on. Let's go with the main melodic here. We will work in something that's, if I would speak in pictures, which is the most German way to say this, I would take the Matrushka here as a picture. Why Matrushka? Because we are kind of using exactly the same principle as we did before with the pedal point, except that we will start and duplicate a lot of those rhythms and notes. So because Matrushka, you know, it's like you have like this one puppet, and then inside the puppet there's another puppet, and there's another puppet in that puppet that was inside the other puppet, and so far and so on. Process of duplication, I think it's very underrated, and it seems very trivial, but it's actually not. And I think a lot of very good music was created by just duplicating either notes or whole tracks or voices or instruments. But let me show you what I mean. So we start creating a MIDI track by selecting this area, hit Shift Command and M shortcut, or right click when you have selected the area, and insert empty MIDI clips. Also works like that. So with Command and L, and if you select something, you can just loop that section. Alright, so now we are in A minor. So let's just start with A. And watch out for the grid. 1/16th note here again, 8th notes, triplet grid. Very, very important. Otherwise it will sound like a donkey. Okay, so now same rule as above. You don't have to take exactly this rhythm of the pedal point. We could also just copy this one down here. Would be also possible. Okay, but let's just create a new rhythm with the same principle, which is one note, 2 notes free, or 1 note free, however you want it, but not this. That's forbidden in a way. Okay, and then you just alternate between those 2, and then maybe 1, and of course you can also do 2 times 2, or even 3 times 2, and then 1 and 1 and 1. A lot of 1s here in the end. I don't know if I like that. Now it's a lot of 2s here. Maybe like this. Okay, I'll just open up the filter a little bit more. Okay, so before we do that, let's just create slight velocity changes right here. Just makes the thing a little bit more organic in the end. Cool. Okay, so selecting option, put them to the 3rd and then to the 5th here. So classic minor chord. You can transpose this C one octave higher. This is called an open voicing, which sounds like this. Maybe just stack the fifth lower. So now we have 2 bars of exactly like the same chords, and now we can start varying notes inside those chords and starting to like make exceptions to our rule. So this highest note often feels like the note that's like the melodic line. So that's why I would start like alternating notes here first. And I'm just going to pick like pairs of notes here and just transpose them down or up. And then you will hear, is it creating something interesting? Maybe you stay up here. I wanna add some more like passing chords here, like just like some like more gritty, faster chords. Let's just select all with Command and A and transpose it down 1 octave with Shift and the down arrow. Okay, I like this like as a first theme, but I think our theme should be longer in the end. So we extend the loop here, duplicate it. I'm just taking like those notes here and shifting them down. And then I'm hearing a change here again. Something, I don't know what. Really, I have no clue what. So that's what we have at the moment. So here we're not like really changing anything like about the core chord here. The rhythm stays the same. It's just like with more notes in here and here. So that's all super fine. Now, one interesting thing you can do if like you're stuck here and you don't think that this sounds good is we're here in scale mode, and I would really recommend you to go inside the scale mode, because now we can just shift chords around, which is like super fun. So you just listen to what we have here, and it's not bad or something, but maybe we can achieve something that's even more interesting. So I'm going to shift that note back here on you know, on our root chord that we just created. And now we go to the second bar and we just shift this 2 semitones, 2 tones, 2 notes down. Maybe we can do the same thing in the end again. Hearing like a lot of notes here. It's not losing the tempo. Here as well. And here as well. Maybe we go down here again. Nah, I don't like that one. Maybe one more down. Okay, and now we can. So I really like this idea at the moment. I think it sounds really, really cool. And I just added like some random notes. So it's just keeping up more with the tempo. But you just, if you feel it like slower, you feel it in a certain way, you just leave it like that. Here it's really about experimenting around, and I think in this scale mode that's like the trick here. You will hit some chords sometimes which don't feel that nice, But in general, it's so nice. You can just alternate up and down and go with like the exact same pattern. One thing that's sticking to my mind is we could start building some pedal points in here. So not all of our notes are all of the time changing, because this can be a little bit too easy for the ear. So maybe we just try, and I'll just push this one up to the E, for example. Maybe this one as well. We just start listening and try to feel if it sounds good or not. Maybe stay here up. Here as well. No, I don't like this. Let's listen again. Okay, yeah, I like that. Maybe stay up here with 3 more notes. Maybe we start alternating always the first one higher. I don't know about this 3 notes here. Let's just try. Let's try a step here. No, maybe here. Okay, now like there's a lot changing. Maybe we transpose those notes up so we have our pedal point. Cannot even hear it right. I think that's a little bit kitschy. It's a little bit too weird here. It's a bit too high. No, that was fine. Maybe here. Okay, yeah, I like that chord actually. Maybe try a little more steps here. No. Maybe we go and just transpose some more steps here in the first one. Make it a little bit faster from the feelings. Let's just get our pedal point up. Just trying to check the vibe here. It's already creating some nice emotion. Okay, so I think we can continue here to our bass region. So for the bass, I think we always want to provoke some happy little accidents, as Bob Ross would say. I just want to go with an approach that's more like ear-based. So I want to make this laying bass lines, and they will really bring this warmth into our track. So let's do it in the way that I explained it earlier on, with not starting like on the 1 particularly here. So we had our E in the in the pedal point, and here we won't start like with an A, which would be like the most obvious thing. Let's start with an F. An F is like a third below an A. Let's just listen. Okay, the chord is changing there. And I'm just doing anything. It's not working. I think we should start on A. I'm struggling a little bit with the last one. Those feel good. It's G in the very end. Okay, it's working like this. I've programmed in a fifth here on the third oscillator. This is just giving the bass patch really much grittiness and warmth and drive. Okay, let's check the MIDI here real quick, what we're doing there. So maybe we can go with those chords. So here we have a D, we have a G, we have a E, and we have a B. So it's either E or G. E minor or G major, and then we're going to B, G, which is B, which is also G, B, E, G, D. Maybe we could try to go to C major here. There's the D that it's not working here. Maybe transpose this up. Make a passing note here in the end. Okay, yeah, that works. Just opening up the filter a little bit. Just to check if like the motion is coming through. An important thing later on when we do the automation is that you have the same kind of automation motions also between your synths. So it's kind of the Matrushka system here as well. You do the same thing for all of your synth, because if I crank only like the bass up, it's just popping out super heavily like this. But if I crank up the Diva synth as well, no, it's working now. Here it's working, and then we need to close them both, because now the bass is staying up, which is not feeling good. Needs to go back as well. But that's an automation thing that we're going to do later. So, okay, something that is cool that you can do is you go to triplet grid, 8th notes, and now we can create this like small filler ideas. Just try to go down here. Yeah, better. A little bit more envelope. You really want to be chill with the envelope, because if you do like this, it's like popping out of the complete mix. It's like meters above the rest. So be very gentle. So let's start with the question and answer synth. So this one, as it's called, it needs a question and it needs an answer. So let's create a MIDI clip here and go to eighth notes and go to triplets again. The important thing is here, we don't want to overcomplicate stuff. So those kinds of elements, they come alive if you don't overcomplicate them, okay? So you have whatever, higher octave maybe, you have some kind of hit here in the very beginning. Let's just go with C. And that one is repeating. Again, the Matrushka, duplication Matrushka system. Switching notes here. So question, dun, dun, dun. Maybe not on the one. Maybe this answer needs to come later. Not on the one. This one, I don't. Da, 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 da. Only important thing here is that there's space between them. So you're opening up something that's not resolved here. Here. Okay, what is interesting, I think the whole Matrushka system already leaded me back to this pattern, which is, if you have a closer look, exactly the same thing but with one note difference in here. I think this is a really, really powerful kind of system that you can use for your tracks. So I think we should use this question answer approach here, but change like the landing notes a little bit more. So let's just duplicate our loop here and see if we can alternate those so they fit the rest of the track a little bit better. And for that I'll just like go and slightly turn up the cutoff knob here, so we have a little bit more like high-end material in our synth. Bass as well. Here I hear a fill. Fill just means more notes. Let's turn up the bass. See if it's pedal point, harmonics. Then we need to close it all again. Now we'll start automating all of those. So if you have something that you have looped with Command and L, you can just click on that loop here and hit Shift Command and D. Click the loop again. It's all selected, and now duplicate and, you know, Matrushka. Okay, so let's just quickly arrange this. I'll just get rid of the kick. So I already have our controls here. If you don't have them there, if you go configure and then click the knob, and then you will see it starts appearing here. So you can do this basically with like every knob. We also want to take like the envelope depth, that's like creating the punch, and the volume of our oscillators. And so like this, it's like super crazily cranked up. Okay, so that's just getting rid of like all of our oscillators basically. We have another oscillator that we want to map, so make sure you have oscillator 1, volume 3 and 2, and volume oscillator 2 is our main one. So we start pretty subby. Here I already mapped those. So there is quite a difference between the mapping or automating the envelope and the cutoff. So the cutoff is like generally like cutting away all of your high frequencies or low frequencies depending on like the setting. If you crank up the general bigger cutoff knob here, things will get like more muddy in a way, and if you crank up the envelope it will get more groovy. So listen to this. So the plug enhances the chick, 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 chick. And if you enhance the cutoff here, also because it has a very long release time on the amp here, which I like, you know, the general sound is coming up more. So you can do both, obviously. Nothing is like better or worse, but it's just good to be aware of this. So I would go for the frequency envelope here. So really, okay, you have to watch out, it has negative values here. So we start on 50. And now just close. Just make sure the normal cutoff is kind of closed. Okay, this one is already, the question answer one is already too high up. So also here we can automate the filter envelope amount. Okay, now I can hear that the bass is popping out pretty much because of the filter envelope depth. It's just like, you know, this is too fast. Yeah, it's good. Maybe we don't start with the shaker. Okay, now the melodic groove can crank up more with the filter frequency, the cutoff. Okay, and then we're going to drop soon. Shouldn't open up too much, and here we're going to drop. So everything needs to close here to a volume or to like a value where you can still hear it and it's still nice. And we want to add the second, or in this case the third oscillator, which is the fifth. So it's really getting warm at this point, and then on the drop it's kind of fully there. Also opening up the bass. So they all like share the same like overtone amount, and that's like creating this emotion. And then closing them down. So pedal point we can automate. Maybe that's the one that's going to stay up. Let's try it without drums. No, I don't like it. It's open. Okay, now we're going to drop with the drums. Let's just put a little reverb here on the drums so we can fade it out. So now I have another oscillator here on the bass, which is this very high one. Okay, so the main melodic we can do that a little bit better. Let's close down the main frequency. Yeah. You know, now it's super groovy, super short, and then a little bit more envelope depth of the... Yeah. A little bit. Somewhere there. I think we can cut the first oscillator 1, volume 1 here. Frequency here, can open it. Cannot hear this anymore. Okay, cool. So that's like a very basic arrangement for this stuff. So you really start like super low. I mean, you can even cut the bass a little bit more. It's really super in the background. It's just building up really nicely. Intensity is growing, like all of the synths are opening up together. EDM. If I like this. A little bit too too much open here on the melodic. Alright, so let's come to an end, but before we finish the video, I'll just duplicate the main melodic groove and delete those MIDIs here. So this is called bonus melody, and let's just right click here and delete those automations on the knob because we either want to redo them or don't need them here. So now I'll go to the MIDI pack, take like kind of a lot of MIDIs, put them here. Now it's asking you import tempo, blah blah, you just say no, I don't want the tempo. Okay, so now you have all those MIDIs here, which looks a little bit chaotic, I know, but now we're going to try those MIDIs and see if they fit or if they can do something. So here it said F major, which is kind of, it's not really the scale that we're in. They will have different scales that they're in and different stuff like that. But what I like to do is I just import them, and we already have our scale enabled here. So you can directly see which note is not in the scale. And then of course after that we have to trust our ears. So with this example, I would just transpose this one down here. And now we have, you can see all the other notes should work with this track. So now we can hit scale and scale again, and then the gray one is gone. And now, of course, we need to set this to a triplet grid. So we go to triplet grid again, hit Command A to select all of our notes here, and hit Command and U to quantize them. So now it's quantized to our grid, which is in triplets. Of course, if you're like making music which is in a straight grid, you don't have to do this. Okay, so now I would just go and see if this is working in any ways. Okay, let's open it up a little bit more. Let's transpose this up an octave. Okay. Just transpose them. Now it's working. Okay, so and that's like the basic approach. So yeah, okay, that could be something. Let's try this one here. Okay, that's like completely different scale. You can see it here. Now what I want to do is basically I want to just select all of those and see if I can get them to a place where most of them are like on yellow ground. Let's hit scale again. Okay, we have some that are not yellow. now go down, and now like they're all inside our scale. And now we can just try if this is working, but obviously in triplets. Command and U. Very easy, a very nice result. That's like the process, how you implement MIDIs from a pack directly into your project, transpose them all by one and use them in your track to get inspiration. In the end, trust your feeling. I know this hasn't been such a theoretical session, but I think it's about listening to the intervals, and I'm sure that you will hear when there is, for example, a minor second interval that you really want to avoid. There are not that many, there's just one inside your A minor scale between E and F. And the rest is just fixing your grid, starting this process of fiddling with all of those MIDI chord notes, sticking to the rhythm and using the Matryoshka system. That was it. Check out the packs, check out our other tutorials about all kind of different topics. My name was Yannick and it was nice being here.